Welcome, everyone, to today's exploration of mindful eating, an essential aspect of Buddhist practice. In our fast-paced modern world, it's easy to overlook the profound connection between what we eat and how we feel both physically and spiritually. The act of eating, something we often rush through without much thought, is not merely about filling our stomachs, it's an opportunity to cultivate mindfulness, nourish our bodies, and deepen our spiritual practices. In Buddhism, mindfulness extends far beyond the cushion of meditation. It is a state of awareness that we can bring to every moment of our lives, including our most routine actions, such as eating. In the Buddhist tradition, eating is not just a physical necessity. It is a sacred act, a moment where we can practice gratitude, humility, and compassion. The Buddha taught that mindfulness, or sati, is the path to wisdom. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts, actions, and feelings without attachment or aversion. When applied to eating, mindfulness helps us to become aware of not only the taste, texture, and nourishment of food but also the relationship between the food we consume and the impact it has on our body, mind, and spirit. Mindful eating in Buddhism encourages us to approach food with awareness and gratitude. Before eating, we can pause for a moment, taking time to appreciate the effort that went into growing, harvesting, and preparing the food. We can reflect on the interconnectedness of all beings and how this food sustains us. This simple act of pausing and reflecting before eating helps us to cultivate gratitude, reducing the tendency to take food for granted. In Buddhist philosophy, the act of eating is seen as an opportunity to practice generosity, as we are not only nourishing our own bodies but also the bodies of those who have worked to provide the food. Mindfulness also teaches us to eat with moderation, recognizing when we are full and avoiding overindulgence. This practice helps us to avoid the harmful cycle of greed and craving, which often leads to suffering. The Buddha's teachings on the middle way, a path of balance between indulgence and asceticism, are directly applicable to our eating habits. By being mindful of what we eat, how much we eat, and when we eat, we can begin to create a harmonious relationship with food that supports our overall well-being. As we eat mindfully, we are also engaging in a practice of self-care. In Buddhist practice, the body is seen as the temple of the mind. By taking care of our bodies through healthy, mindful eating, we are honoring the body as a vessel for our spiritual journey. Eating mindfully brings awareness to the body's sensations, whether it's the feeling of hunger, the enjoyment of flavors, or the sense of satisfaction after a meal. These moments of awareness allow us to be fully present in the act of eating, which in turn enhances our ability to be present in all other aspects of our lives. Mindful eating also offers an opportunity for deep spiritual growth. In every meal, we can practice the Four Noble Truths, understanding the nature of suffering, dukkha, recognizing its causes, craving and attachment, realizing that suffering can end, through the cessation of craving, and following the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, the Eightfold Path. The simple act of eating, when done with mindfulness, becomes a path to freedom from attachment and craving. By eating with awareness, we let go of the desire for more, recognizing that true contentment comes not from external possessions, but from the peace that arises when we fully appreciate the present moment. In conclusion, mindful eating in Buddhism is not just a practice for nourishment, it is a gateway to spiritual growth, self-awareness, and a deeper connection with the world around us. It is a profound opportunity to live out the teachings of the Buddha in the most everyday aspect of life. So, as you sit down to eat today, remember that each bite is an invitation to practice mindfulness, gratitude, and awareness, nourishing not only your body but also your mind and spirit. In Buddhism, food is not merely a means of sustaining the body, it is seen as an offering, a sacred act that honors life itself. The Buddha's teachings invite us to recognize the deeper significance of food, transforming every meal into an opportunity for mindfulness, gratitude, and spiritual reflection. Eating is not just a mundane act of fulfilling our physical needs, it is a moment to reconnect with our higher purpose, to reflect on our interdependence with all living beings, and to practice the core principles of Buddhism in the simplest and most direct way. The practice of mindful eating, in line with Buddhist teachings, emphasizes the importance of eating with awareness. It asks us to pause before we eat, to acknowledge the effort and love that went into preparing our food, and to express our gratitude for the sustenance it provides. Every grain of rice, every vegetable, every dish carries with it the work of many hands, farmers who plant and harvest, cooks who prepare, and the environment that sustains all life. By recognizing this effort, we cultivate a sense of gratitude that transcends the physical act of eating and connects us to the greater cycle of life. In Buddhism, mindfulness is central to understanding our interconnectedness with all beings. Every meal becomes a reminder of the interdependent nature of existence. We are not separate from the food we consume, we are part of an intricate web of life, where every action, no matter how small, has a ripple effect. When we eat mindfully, we honor this interconnectedness by acknowledging the life and energy that flows through the food we eat. This awareness fosters a deep respect for all living beings and the environment that nourishes us, reinforcing the Buddhist concept of compassion and loving kindness. Mindful eating also serves as a reminder of the impermanence of life. In Buddhism, impermanence, anicca, is one of the three marks of existence, teaching us that everything in life is transient and subject to change. When we eat with awareness, we are reminded of the fleeting nature of each moment. Each bite becomes an opportunity to fully experience the present, to savor the taste and texture of the food, and to reflect on the impermanent nature of both the food and ourselves. This mindfulness helps us to let go of the distractions of the past and future, allowing us to be fully present in the here and now. This deep awareness transforms eating from a routine task into a meaningful meditation. The Buddha taught that every moment offers an opportunity to practice the path to enlightenment, and mindful eating is no exception. When we eat with awareness, we cultivate the qualities of the Noble Eightfold Path: right intention, right action, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By focusing on the present moment, we align ourselves with the teachings of the Buddha, moving closer to understanding the nature of suffering and the path to liberation. Furthermore, mindful eating offers a way to practice moderation and balance, which are key aspects of Buddhist teachings. The Buddha encouraged his followers to avoid excess and indulgence, as well as to refrain from asceticism. Eating mindfully helps us to recognize when we are full, when we have had enough, and when to stop, thereby promoting balance in our relationship with food. Through this practice, we also learn to overcome desires and cravings, which are seen as sources of suffering in Buddhist philosophy. By eating with mindfulness, we reduce attachment to food and the sense of craving, allowing us to be content with what we have and to cultivate inner peace. In Buddhist monastic traditions, food is often seen as an opportunity for spiritual practice, and monks and nuns follow strict guidelines around eating with mindfulness and discipline. However, this practice is not confined to monastic life. It is a teaching that can be applied by anyone, in any circumstance. Whether we are enjoying a simple meal alone or sharing food with loved ones, we can always practice mindfulness, transforming each meal into a sacred moment of reflection and gratitude. Mindful eating also provides an opportunity to practice loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna. As we eat, we can silently wish for the well-being of all beings who are involved in the process of food production, from the farmers to the animals, to the environment. This practice allows us to connect with others, even in moments of solitude, fostering a sense of peace and interconnectedness with all sentient beings. By eating with compassion, we acknowledge the suffering that many beings endure in the process of producing food, and we approach our meal with an attitude of humility and respect. In conclusion, food in Buddhism is much more than sustenance. It is an offering, a moment of mindfulness, and an opportunity for spiritual growth. By eating with awareness, we honor the interconnectedness of all life, cultivate gratitude, and practice the principles of Buddhism in a tangible way. Each meal becomes a reflection of the impermanence of life, an opportunity to cultivate balance, and a chance to transform a basic act into a meaningful meditation. As we practice mindful eating, we not only nourish our bodies, but we also nourish our minds and spirits, moving closer to the realization of the Buddha's teachings and the path to enlightenment. Mindful eating, in the context of Buddhist practice, is not merely about eating slowly. It is a profound act of becoming fully attuned to the present moment and our bodies. In the Buddhist teachings, mindfulness, or sati, is the key to cultivating awareness in all aspects of life, and eating is no exception. When we practice mindfulness while eating, we do more than just engage with food, we engage with our bodies, our emotions, and our deeper selves. This awareness extends to understanding our body's signals, such as hunger and satiety, and recognizing how food can nourish not only our physical form but our mental and spiritual well-being. Buddhism teaches us that awareness of the present moment is the path to liberation from suffering. The practice of mindful eating allows us to embrace this present moment by recognizing the subtle cues that our bodies give us. We learn to listen to our bodies and discern when we are truly hungry and when we have had enough. This practice is an antidote to mindless eating, where we often consume food without truly engaging with it, leading to overeating, emotional eating, or eating out of habit. By becoming mindful, we develop a deeper connection to the natural rhythms of our bodies, which enables us to make healthier choices. These choices are rooted in awareness rather than craving, which is a key principle in Buddhist teachings. The Buddhist teachings on the middle way, avoiding both extremes of indulgence and deprivation, are deeply relevant to mindful eating. By eating slowly and with awareness, we allow ourselves the opportunity to find balance. When we take the time to savor each bite, we help improve digestion, enhance the absorption of nutrients, and allow the body to signal when it is satisfied. In Buddhism, we are taught that greed and attachment to worldly desires, including the craving for food, are sources of suffering. Through mindful eating, we break free from these attachments. By reducing overeating and excessive indulgence, we create a healthier and more harmonious relationship with food and our bodies, just as the Buddha encouraged balance in all aspects of life. Mindful eating also extends beyond physical nourishment. It offers an opportunity for spiritual growth, as it helps us become more aware of our emotional states and how they can influence our eating habits. Emotional eating, driven by stress, anxiety, or boredom, is a form of attachment, a tendency that Buddhism teaches us to understand and transcend. Mindfulness allows us to observe our emotions without becoming consumed by them, preventing them from dictating our actions, especially when it comes to food. By cultivating awareness of our feelings, we are able to make intentional choices based on what our body truly needs, not on the impulse to soothe our emotions through food. Research on mindful eating also supports what Buddhist teachings have known for centuries, that mindful eating can help maintain a healthy weight and promote overall well-being. It reduces the mindless habits that often lead to unhealthy eating patterns and encourages a more balanced approach to food. When we eat with mindfulness, we are engaging in an act of self-care that nurtures both body and mind. This practice aligns with the Buddhist ideal of living with intention, where every action, no matter how small, contributes to our spiritual growth. By applying mindfulness to the act of eating, we create an opportunity to cultivate balance and harmony in our lives. Just as the Buddha encouraged balance in life, mindful eating is a means to bring that balance to our physical health. It is a way of honoring our bodies as temples for our spirits, recognizing that how we nourish ourselves has profound effects on our well-being. In Buddhism, the practice of self-care is not about indulgence or neglect, but about finding harmony between the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of our being. Mindful eating, then, is an essential practice for anyone seeking to align their actions with the wisdom of the Buddha and to cultivate a deeper understanding of themselves. In conclusion, mindful eating, rooted in the teachings of Buddhism, is more than a physical practice. It is a path to spiritual enlightenment. It helps us break free from unhealthy patterns, teaches us to listen to our bodies, and fosters a deeper sense of gratitude for the food that sustains us. By eating with mindfulness, we not only nourish our bodies but also cultivate peace of mind and spiritual clarity. Through this practice, we move closer to the middle way, a balanced approach to life that brings us closer to true happiness and liberation from suffering. Mindful eating, deeply rooted in the teachings of Buddhism, extends beyond being a mere physical practice. It is a profound spiritual journey. In the Buddhist tradition, every act of eating is considered an opportunity to reflect, to pause, and to cultivate gratitude. It serves as a sacred practice where one can connect with the present moment, grounding themselves in the here and now. Through mindful eating, we engage in a moment of meditation that invites us to acknowledge the food that nourishes our body, the hands that prepared it, and the earth that provided it. This practice is much more than the act of consuming food. It is an invitation to reconnect with our spiritual selves and with the world around us. When we eat mindfully, we learn to embrace the fullness of the present, letting go of distractions, worries, and the constant chatter of our thoughts. It is a deliberate act of attention, where we turn our senses inward and outward, tuning into the textures, flavors, and aromas of the meal. With each bite, we create space for a deeper connection to our inner peace. Mindful eating also opens the door to cultivating compassion and awareness. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is not limited to sitting meditation alone. It is intended to be integrated into every aspect of our lives. Eating, often seen as a mundane act, becomes a sacred ritual that reflects our larger journey toward enlightenment. By being present with our food, we honor its nourishment and acknowledge the interconnection between all beings. We realize that the food before us comes from the earth, the labor of others, and the infinite cycles of nature. In this realization, gratitude arises naturally, and we develop a sense of interconnectedness with all life forms. As we continue to practice mindful eating, we begin to notice how it influences our overall well-being. It encourages us to slow down and to appreciate the simple joys of life. When we eat with mindfulness, we are better able to listen to our bodies, making conscious choices that support our physical, emotional, and spiritual health. This practice also nurtures our ability to be present in other areas of life, improving our capacity for deep listening, compassion, and connection with others. It teaches us to approach life with a sense of balance, harmony, and grace. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness is a path toward liberation, and mindful eating is one small but powerful step along this path. It offers a unique opportunity to turn our everyday actions into moments of profound spiritual growth. Each meal, when approached with mindfulness, becomes a practice of letting go of attachment, of acknowledging impermanence, and of embracing the fleeting nature of the moment. We learn to savor the richness of life, not only in the act of eating but in every aspect of our existence. Through mindful eating, we discover that even the simplest moments can lead us toward greater peace, compassion, and understanding. By incorporating this practice into our daily lives, we move closer to cultivating a life of mindfulness and serenity. It is a reminder that every bite is a step toward deeper spiritual insight, a greater appreciation of the present moment, and a profound connection to the world around us. In the quiet act of eating, we are invited to open our hearts, to reflect on the teachings of the Buddha, and to embrace the path of wisdom and compassion. In today's fast-paced world, the act of eating has become a rushed, unconscious task. Many of us have fallen into the habit of mindless eating, snacking in front of the TV, grabbing food on the go, or quickly consuming meals without truly experiencing them. This disconnection from the act of eating leads to a diminished sense of awareness, leaving us unable to appreciate the food we consume or acknowledge its true value. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just a concept reserved for meditation, it is a practice that can be applied to every aspect of our lives, including the simple yet profound act of eating. Mindful eating, rooted in Buddhist principles, invites us to slow down, to be present with our food, and to cultivate awareness and gratitude in the process. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of living in the moment, of being fully aware and present in everything we do. Eating, often seen as a mundane task, becomes an opportunity for spiritual growth when we practice mindfulness. Each bite, every movement, and even the preparation of the meal can become an act of meditation. Mindful eating encourages us to pay attention to the nourishment we receive, not just physically, but spiritually as well. It teaches us to honor the food that sustains us, acknowledging the labor of those who cultivated it, the earth that provided it, and the interconnectedness of all life forms. By doing so, we cultivate a deep sense of gratitude and awareness, aligning our actions with the teachings of the Buddha. The practice of mindful eating begins with a simple but powerful step, pausing before each meal. In the tradition of mindfulness, the moment of pause allows us to disconnect from the distractions of the outside world and reconnect with ourselves. We take a deep breath, grounding ourselves in the present moment, and take time to reflect on the food before us. This brief pause not only prepares our minds and bodies for nourishment but also allows us to appreciate the food with reverence. It helps us to shift from the automatic and distracted act of eating to one of intentionality and presence. By cultivating mindfulness before and during meals, we learn to savor the flavors, textures, and aromas of the food. We become more attuned to how our bodies feel as we eat, tuning into our hunger and satiety cues, and honoring our body's needs. In Buddhism, mindfulness is an act of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we eat mindfully, we are not just nourishing our own bodies but also honoring the interconnectedness of all beings, recognizing the effort and resources that went into producing the food on our plate. Through this practice, we learn to appreciate the abundance in our lives and recognize the impermanence of all things, including the food we consume. Every meal becomes a reminder that all things are fleeting, and we are called to enjoy the present moment fully. Mindful eating is not just a way to change our relationship with food, but it also serves as a practice that aligns us with the core teachings of Buddhism, awareness, gratitude, and compassion. When we eat with intention, we break free from the cycle of mindless consumption that often defines our lives. Instead, we step into a space where we can reflect, appreciate, and engage with our food in a meaningful way. This practice has the potential to transform not just our eating habits but also our outlook on life. It teaches us to be present with ourselves, to acknowledge the beauty of the simple moments, and to live with more intentionality and care. As we begin to practice mindful eating, we may find that it brings more peace, clarity, and gratitude into our daily lives. We start to recognize that each meal is an opportunity for spiritual growth, a chance to cultivate mindfulness and to nourish our bodies and souls. In the end, mindful eating is not simply about the food we consume, it is about cultivating a deeper connection with ourselves, the world around us, and the sacredness of every moment. Just as Buddhism teaches us to live with awareness in every aspect of our lives, mindful eating offers a path to greater peace, compassion, and presence in all that we do. By eating with intention, we align ourselves more closely with the teachings of the Buddha, creating space for growth, reflection, and a deep sense of gratitude for the nourishment that sustains us. As we bring today's reflection to a close, it's important to understand that mindful eating is not just a practice, but a lifelong journey. In the context of Buddhism, this practice isn't about achieving perfection, it is about cultivating awareness and mindfulness in every moment, with each meal being an opportunity for growth and reflection. The essence of mindfulness in Buddhism is to be present in all actions, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, and eating is no exception. It is not about eating perfectly, but about being fully present and aware of what we consume and how it nourishes our bodies, minds, and spirits. Mindful eating is about pausing and reflecting, whether we are alone or in the company of others. When we eat, we are invited to connect with our bodies, our minds, and the world around us in a way that brings us back to the present moment. In Buddhism, the present moment is all we have, and each moment is a chance to align ourselves with the teachings of the Buddha about presence, awareness, and gratitude. It is in the simplest acts, like eating, that we can practice and embody the essence of mindfulness. The act of eating, when performed mindfully, becomes a meditation in itself, a space to cultivate calmness, focus, and gratitude. We take a moment before every bite, appreciating the food before us, recognizing the energy that went into bringing it to our plate, and acknowledging the impermanence of all things. As we practice mindful eating, we learn to honor the nourishment we receive, both physically and spiritually. The Buddha often spoke of how food is not just a means of sustenance, but a gift. He encouraged us to eat with gratitude, to reflect on the interconnectedness of all life, and to be aware of the blessings that food represents. Each bite is not just nourishment for the body, but an opportunity to reflect on the generosity of others and the cycles of nature that bring this food to us. Through mindful eating, we honor the food, the hands that prepared it, and the earth that provided it. It helps us to recognize the sacredness of all things, especially those we often take for granted. The Buddha's teachings on mindfulness remind us that awareness is not reserved for formal meditation, but should permeate every aspect of our lives, including our relationship with food. When we eat with awareness, we develop a deeper connection to the food we consume. We understand that each meal is an opportunity to practice compassion for ourselves and for all beings. We become aware of how the food affects our body and mind, and this awareness allows us to make better choices. It is not about restriction, but about making conscious decisions that align with our well-being and our spiritual growth. Eating becomes an act of self-care and self-compassion, a way to nourish both the body and the soul. In Buddhism, every action, no matter how mundane it may seem, is an opportunity to practice mindfulness and cultivate inner peace. Eating is no different. When we eat mindfully, we bring our full attention to the meal, to the sensation of chewing, to the flavors that unfold in our mouths, and to the feelings that arise within us. This practice can help us to let go of distractions, worries, and anxieties, and to return to the simplicity of the present moment. It teaches us to slow down, to savor the experience, and to approach each meal with reverence. Through mindful eating, we not only nourish our bodies but also deepen our spiritual connection to the world and to the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha once said, "When you eat, eat with awareness." This simple yet profound teaching encapsulates the essence of mindful eating. It encourages us to be fully present in each moment, to appreciate the food we have, and to be aware of its impact on our bodies and minds. By following this practice, we can transform our relationship with food, moving beyond the act of mere consumption to one of deep appreciation and gratitude. With every meal, we have the opportunity to practice mindfulness, to strengthen our connection to ourselves, and to embrace the present moment fully. This practice, when nurtured over time, helps us to develop a more peaceful, mindful life, one that is filled with awareness, compassion, and clarity. In conclusion, mindful eating is a powerful tool for cultivating physical health, spiritual well-being, and inner peace. It is a practice that invites us to be present, to honor the nourishment we receive, and to deepen our connection with the world around us. Through mindful eating, we align ourselves with the teachings of the Buddha, embracing the present moment with awareness and gratitude. It is a journey that leads to a life of greater clarity, compassion, and peace, helping us to navigate life with a deeper sense of mindfulness and grace. Let this practice guide you toward a life that is rich in awareness, purpose, and spiritual fulfillment.